The Joker, Anakin Skywalker, Thanos, and Magneto. These are just a handful of some of the greatest villains we have in cinema right now. And because of the Batman and Paul Dano's performance, we can now add the Riddler to the list of some of the greatest antagonists of all time. Paul Dano's performance as the Riddler and Matt Reeves' gritty vision for his version of the film definitely continues to set the bar for great antagonists higher and higher. Now, the key factor within the context of these characters is the audience and their acceptance of the character. By this, I mean the audience starts to buy into the antagonist's ideals, they start to empathize, and they relate to the trials and tribulations that the antagonist is going through, and then they start to associate that with their own lives. Now, at this point, the audience doesn't see an antagonist. What they now see is themselves within the character, thus establishing a connection to the viewers and, in return, creating some of the best characters in films. Now, all villains, they don't have to have a compelling story.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
But the best villains make the audience question their judgment and their outlook on things. So, the question is, which is more important to the plot of the story? Having a great hero or having a compelling villain? One could argue that they both are important to the story. And yes, fundamentally, they would be correct if the overall story is what we're going after right now. But we're not. What we're talking about is the individual importance of the character to the story. A villain can exist without a hero, but a hero cannot exist without a villain. The driving force behind the hero is handcuffed by the notion of having to always do the right thing. But the villain, on the other hand, the villain in the story has the freedom to choose their actions, unlike the handcuffed hero. People are naturally drawn to chaos. So ask yourself this question. If you're driving past a car accident, do you keep going or do you slow down? Do you take a look or you don't? I'm gonna say that 90% of the people will slow down and take a look. And on top of that, are you looking to make sure everyone's all right? Or are you looking to see the wreckage? My guess is gonna be the latter. Like I said, people are drawn to chaos. The evolution of villains in story has become quite compelling and complex in comparison to what they used to be. They've evolved and moved past the I want to do this generic bad thing because I'm evil. Dr. No, he's the first to come to mind to me. He was the film world's first James Bond villain. His big plan was just to disrupt the Project Mercury space launch using nuclear radio beams. It was simple and it was generic. But now we get more thought-provoking arcs and a much more complex character development design today. Looking at Thanos, yes, his actions were deplorable, but his motivations in the MCU were grounded in reality. In the film, Thanos firmly believes that the population of the universe has grown way too much to survive on the finite resources that we have in the cosmos. So he wants to just erase half of them using the Infinity Gauntlet.
You should have gone for the head.
In the hopes that a reduced population will be forced to better limit themselves and survive for the future instead of falling into a war over resources where humanity will continue to fight and die for generations to come. This outcome has a slight similarity to the state of the world now. We have war, we have greed, and we have famine tearing the world apart as we speak. So maybe Thanos was right. Not in his actions, but in his motivations. Josh Brolin really brought the character to life with his performance, with his delivery of his lines, his mannerisms, and his conviction behind the words when he spoke. This is what made us as the audience believe in his drive and his ideals. Looking back at some of the past TV shows and some of the past films, we have gotten some very complex and some very creative characters in our anti-heroes and our villains. You can look at the Joker that was played by Joaquin Phoenix. Absolutely great film. Or even look at 2013's Hannibal, which was played by Mads Mikkelsen, who is a phenomenal actor. Both of these characters were compelling and they were complex in their nature and they were captivating to the audience. The complex evolution of villains today allow for a deeper and a richer and a much more relatable arc for a character that the audience just basically falls in love with. Look, just look at the rise of the anti-hero. People love them. They're slowly becoming more popular every day because they tiptoe the line of morality and defiance. This further solidifies the fact that people want to feel free and defiant in the face of any and everyone. Essentially, being able to flip the middle finger in the face of everyone, but not actually doing it. This leads me to the redemption arc. The redemption arc is probably the most important part of a character's transformation. The idea that the character has the opportunity to atone for the mistakes they made in the past by performing a series of actions to help the story develop in the best way possible. Just like chaos, people love the idea of hope. The hope that someone can change. The hope that this time the outcome will be different. Hope is a powerful thing regardless of the outcome. Having a hero turn villain doesn't go over so well with the audience, but having a villain turn to a hero is much more impactful to the story because people love the idea of hope. This is why having a compelling villain is the most important part of the story. A villain can exist without a hero, but a hero cannot exist without a villain. Well, that's it for the video, guys. I do appreciate you sticking it out and staying to the end. And this is just a video that I kind of wanted to make over time. Just my thoughts on how villains are becoming more important to the story, even more so than the hero. But that's it, guys. My name's Lincoln. This is an RPG show. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.